out of you.
Okay, we're going to
learn a lot more. Okay, let's do it. A speaker saved my life. At most organizations, the most requested training program is presentation skills. How to speak with confidence, how to get your message across in a way that you intend to, and how to keep your audiences engaged.
Ron has this unique ability to actually find what it is that your audience is looking for.
It was just really nice to put a presentation that we had thought was ready to go into the eyes of somebody who could offer a critical eye. You can't put to words how valuable it is.
Would it surprise you to learn that this boy would grow up to be painfully shy? That he would grow up afraid to stand up, and that speaking up would make him want to throw up.
The moment that I heard him speak and I saw him speak, he blew me away.
If it wasn't for that doctor sharing that information, I wouldn't be here today. Your message is more important than you know. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, friends. Good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. How are you doing today? Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Dune Friends. Today we have a wonderful friend joining us from the Toronto area. And Ron, can you still hear me in the green room there, my friend? Wonderful. So, folks, please join us in this conversation here for the next hour and a bit. Grab your favorite beverage and tea and coffee and whatever have you, and join us through the comment section. You can interact with Ron and ask us questions, ask Ron questions, and yeah, let's talk about professional speaking. Let's talk about communication. Let's talk about all kinds of things, but let me do a quick introduction of our guest background before you hear from him and be able to kind of appreciate where he's coming from. Ron Tsang is a former Bay Street investment analyst who evaluated thousands of presentations by CEOs and CFOs. Now Ron specializes in helping smart people become even more effective communicators. He is a speaker with clients that include Canada's financial institutions and tech companies. Ron is an outgoing president of the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, CAPS, Toronto chapter, and is the incoming program director of the national board. He is the co-founder of the Share, Love, Celebrate annual charity fundraiser, as well as the Toronto Entrepreneurs of Passions and Purpose Awards. Ron is the author of From Presentation to Standing Ovation, 15 Actionable Ideas to Achieve Massive Influence. With that wonderful welcome introduction, folks, please help me in welcoming our guest today, Mr. Ron Tsang. Good afternoon, Ron. How are you doing today, my friend?
Good afternoon, dude. I'm doing great. How about you?
Wonderful, wonderful. How's the weather over there in Toronto area? As folks might know, I'm in Alberta, and so you're from Toronto, Ontario. How's the weather?
We're doing okay here. I don't think we'll see a white Christmas, but that's okay by me. How about yourself?
Good. Hey, I was wanting to maybe tell us a bit more. Tell us a bit more about your background, my friend. The Bay Street investment analyst, the communicator, the consultant, the professional speakers and trainer, and university instructor, and all that stuff. Tell us a bit more about how you got here, my friend.
Sure, dude. Sure. Now, when it comes down to it, I am kind of an unlikely professional speaker. I've got an MBA in finance. I was the president of the finance club at the University of Toronto. And then prior to that, I studied economics and computer science at the University of Waterloo. So definitely a very tech-focused background. And when it comes down to it, I tried pursuing those careers, but it just wasn't a good fit for me. Having worked on Bay Street, I also worked at a startup. I worked at the banks. I worked in different tech roles, project management roles. I tried out many, many different things. And what I did stick with, though, was Toastmasters. And we can talk more about this certainly in our time together. But it was just the idea that we can transform ourselves, become better, improve our skills, improve our lives, gain new knowledge, gain new friendships. It all started through Toastmasters. Then it extended to CAPS, the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers that we belong to, and other groups and other communities as well. But having that through line, it's about personal growth and a real passion for growing in collaboration with other people as part of a community.
Fantastic. We have many things in common, whether it's the MBA, whether it's the business focus, whether it's the professional speaking and training, and even the Toastmasters. I've been the president of a Toastmasters club long ago. So yeah, it's a wonderful organization, isn't it?
That's right. I didn't know that you were involved with Toastmasters. I'm still involved with Toastmasters, and I'm part of an advanced Toastmasters club called Keynote, the Keynote Speakers Advanced Toastmasters Club. I've been a member for 15 years now. And what's great is that people are so supportive, and it's an opportunity for people to get together on a regular basis in a safe environment and to learn and grow. And again, through those experiences, through the people I've met, it's really shaped my career. And it's been something that has been with me it's been part of my journey for well over a decade now, nearly two.
Wonderful, fantastic. I'm glad to hear it because, as we all know, Toastmasters can serve people from all levels. There are people who are just learning how to speak and getting huge value out of it, and there are people who are professional speakers, even in some cases, Hall of Fame speakers who still find Toastmaster as a community that they continue to get value to. Again, go there and spend time with people, like-minded people, and be able to hone your craft to the next level, try out your new materials in a very supportive environment that also include critical feedback for improvements as well.
That's exactly it, Dune. And people learn by doing, they practice. And while there are plenty of communication coaches and programs out there, this is low cost. It's very, very low cost. I think the annual cost might be $100. And it's a minimal investment. And again, it's been a real big part of my life. So
really, it's a time commitment, it's an effort commitment, and it's again, as much as you put in terms of time and effort and heart, and again, connecting with others, you're going to get value and give value based on that. Did you know that my first song that I have ever written was actually titled Toastmasters of District 42?
Oh, get out of here. Get out of here.
I wrote it and I performed it for 200 Toastmasters and their guests at the, one of those 25th year celebration thing. And Toastmasters of District 42 is what I named it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Is Russ Dantu from District 42 as well?
Yes, he is. And in fact, he is still with District 42, whereas I am now in the Edmonton area. So I'm in northern Alberta. So Edmonton area, whereas Russ Dantu is in the southern Alberta, which is more Calgary, right? And as you might know, District 42 used to cover Alberta and Saskatchewan, and it still does, but now it's more of a north and south. So northern Alberta and northern Saskatchewan or something like that is new District 99, which coincide with Wayne Gretzky number. But anyway, and then the southern, Calgary, as well as the Saskatchewan, that's on the southern side, is now they kept their District 42 number. So we lost our District 42 designation. We became 99.
Well, that's a win in some ways, dude. But ultimately, I think back to my journey through Toastmasters and how I got involved and how I have grown from that. And I see the connection as well to the work that I'm doing, because Toastmasters gave me the opportunity to practice for free a lot. And by honing my craft and then getting known, that led to speaking opportunities where I got paid. And it gave me the confidence. It helped me hone my skills. I cut my teeth through these free opportunities. Now, I know that there are some professional speakers out there in the world who have honed their skills through seminar companies, paid seminar companies like the Fred Pryors and the Skill Paths. And I didn't take that path. I took the free path, and I did it because of a passion and a love, because I grew so much I wasn't a natural born speaker. And being a very technical person, I had the same sort of introverted, analytical personality that many of us stereotypically have. And just learning how to express myself, learning how to be more concise or be more expressive when appropriate. That was really helpful. And so I get a real kick out of helping other people as well. So I definitely specialize in working with technically minded people or analytical types, whether they're scientists, engineers, actuaries, risk managers, and so on and so forth, helping them to communicate more effectively. And communication is really about making sure that we have shared understanding and shared meaning, because many people make the mistake of thinking that, well, just because I say something, other people automatically understand that. But there's definitely room for misinterpretation and information not being transmitted properly through different channels, through different mediums. So it definitely requires some extra thought to get it right. And people like myself help accelerate the process. I help people get through it faster. So I find it really rewarding.
Yeah. Now, again, communication is one of the most important skill in life, and obviously in work life and in family life and community life, communication is a foundation of a human interactions, right? And so, I'm hoping that my sons will at some point make some time for Toastmasters, because I think, they can really learn some great skills on that front.
And you can never start too young. When I was a child in elementary school, I participated in debates and local speech contests, and I didn't win. I was terrible, but I learned from those mistakes. I remember my first speaking opportunity at school was in grade 2. And I just had an accident. I flew too high in the swings. I fell off. I scraped my face. And so the teachers asked me to go speak to some of the younger students. And what they were thinking is, let Ron be a warning to the younger students. But I was so enthusiastic about it, the other students tried copying me. So I'd hear stories weeks after from the teachers complaining about other students trying to fly through the air the way that I did. So sometimes our words can be misinterpreted, and sometimes our intentions may be good, but they don't come out the way we expect. It's just another, as they call it, unintended consequences of our products and services sometime. And communication is a classic example of that. Communication is not about what we say, as you mentioned already. It's not about what we say. It's about ensuring that the meaning that you want to convey has landed, right? And people don't hear things the way they're said. They hear things filtered by their own reality. And so we have to be in tune with their realities a little bit. And you talked about how you've been, some of the, I'm going to call technical roles, whether it's financial analysis, whether it's, whatever. And then, of course, with an MBA background and whatnot. So when you now speak to your business folks who are in those roles, you have walked a few miles in their shoes and able to help them translate it more precisely, because you have that understanding, right? That's exactly it. And for many people, no matter where they are in the roles, whether they're people managers, or they're technical leaders, subject matter experts, they have to be able to communicate effectively, whether it's to other technical people or to business people or to clients, cross-functional teams in an organization. If they're entrepreneurs, they have to be able to rally their team or win business. Then people can't read our minds. People are not mind readers. So we absolutely need to have conversations. And communication is not just about speaking either. I have to say that, especially when we're all working, most of us are working from home, we're taking advantage of the virtual world, we have to make sure that we avoid miscommunications even more than ever. It's more important than ever. I just had some miscommunication today. I was messaging a project manager out in Vancouver, and I got the time zone wrong. And because we were going back and forth by email, it got pretty convoluted. And it would have been so much easier if I just picked up the phone and called him, but I didn't have his phone number. At the same time, I know many people who used to work in an office would feel that they could talk to their coworkers if they have miscommunications in the office by going over to their cubicle or going over to their office and just clarifying something in person. A lot harder when a lot of people are working from home.
Absolutely.
They can't just go over to their desk. They can't just pick up the phone. It's a little harder.
Yeah. You know, interestingly, I agree with you very much. But at the same time, for those of out there who say, you know, it's pretty good to be able to work remotely, I want to also acknowledge that there are a few things that are easier and more productive and better when you work remotely as well. So it's one of those things. There's always pros and cons to different arrangements, and you just have to be aware of them, and you just have to be able to manage the pros and cons accordingly, and squeeze the juice out of the pros, and be able to manage the cons appropriately, right?
Absolutely, Dune. Absolutely. There's always, not only are there also pros and cons, it's a matter of perspective too. Mm-hmm. We can choose to find the silver linings in the dark clouds. Mm-hmm. And if we look for the advantages or the benefits, then we might feel more grateful for some of these opportunities or some of these inconveniences that can happen. There's always something we can be grateful for. There's always an opportunity for us to shift our perspective.
Yeah. So tell us a bit more. I'm going to go back in time. Tell us a little bit more about your upbringing and your childhood and how communication played a role in there. I'd love to hear a story or two in the early days. Ron Tsang in the early days.
Sure. I would say that growing up as the son of a pair of first generation immigrants, I would say that there was definitely some cultural differences and just sort of the divide between generations and trying to understand what things were like in a new country, and just being in a different place. So I've got enormous respect for my parents, and I sort of struggled being an Asian person in just a population where there weren't many Asian people when I was growing up. And I would say that my passion for communication came from some of these struggles, whether it was understanding how to fit in, understanding different cultures, or understanding the intergenerational communication as well, understanding different perspectives. So it took me a while to figure things out, and I am still learning. But that's part of the reason why I have, I think, a better connection with the students that I teach now at my local college, teaching business communication. Because many of the students are from other countries. International students make up a large percentage of the student population. And I know where they're coming from. While I'm not a first-generation immigrant, as a second-generation immigrant, I can definitely empathize with the challenge of integrating or learning a new language or communicating between generations. A lot of, again, people are not mind readers. So just because we're thinking something or we think we're signaling something, we may automatically assume that other people understand us, but that's often not the case. And it could be because of personality differences. It could be because of cultural differences. It could be generational differences. It could just be in terms of the words that we have in our mind that are not expressed either in our body language or in our words. So it's a really interesting, communication is such an interesting thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned about first and second generation immigrants and whatnot. I'm one of those first generation immigrants into Canada, a 13-year-old, and never spoken really, maybe one or two words of English prior to that. And so my second language was actually French. First language, of course, was Vietnamese, and then second was French. And then, of course, coming to Canada, I figure, okay, well, you got to learn English language. But, you know, one of the things that you mentioned that I also want to highlight is that I had full immersion. I was in a town, 5,000 people. We were the only one, my two brothers and I and brother-in-law, were the only ones who spoke Vietnamese. So, you know, you learn in the deep end of the pool there. So, you know, the whole language and culture came very quickly when you're fully immersed in it, right?
That's absolutely right. And I can't imagine what it was like growing up with, well, I'm an only child as well. So that's another thing. So some people have asked me how I how I have such interesting hobbies. I don't really have, in my opinion, I don't have that many interesting hobbies. I spend time by myself. Growing up as an only child, with not a whole lot of family in the city. My parents are interesting because my mom has she's a 10th in her family, and I'm an only child, so that's always interesting. But because I spent a lot of time on my own, I developed a lot of solo hobbies. I read a lot of comic books. I played a lot of video games. I watched a lot of movies. Watched a lot of television, and it gave me time to think and to eventually hone some skills in video editing or crafting stories and whatnot. I remember when I was a kid creating a movie commercial or creating little video clips, like training clips and whatnot. Again, it was just something that I dabbled with in high school for a robotics competition, working on a video team there. So it was just a lot of solo hobbies and solo interests that were suitable for me as an introvert and as an only child.
Yeah, again, we're reminded again of how our environment tend to shape our personality, or our environment tend to shape our maybe career path, and in some cases hobbies and things like that. But another reminder that your story just brought out is the idea of even when we don't have a lot, we do make do with what we have, and whether it's the hobby based on what you have access to and things like that. And so again, when we look at somebody's background and how they filter their world through communication and listening, we have to really understand a little bit about what their life experiences were like, a little bit, I think, right? Because the moment that I recognize your background and who you are in terms of personality wise, I think I can, tailor my communication a little bit better, I think.
And I think tailoring our communication, adapting to our audience is so important, whether we're professional speakers or we're in our family life, in our personal life, in our work life. Because technical people may be used to talking to other technical people, but what is it like when they're talking to senior business people? What is it like when they're talking to people who are not in their teams? When it comes to our family members, are there potential conflicts because they don't see things the way that we see? They don't express the way that we express. They don't feel the way that we feel. So there's definitely potential misunderstandings simply because of these barriers of communication. Just because we're using different words, because we have different customs, because we have different ways of seeing the world. So it's important to recognize if we want to be effective in communication and to have that shared understanding and that shared meaning, then we have to recognize potential barriers to communication, both in ourselves and in the people that we're talking to, the people that we're communicating with. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's just recognizing that there could be something that I'm not saying properly. It could be that the words I'm not using the right words. It could be that I'm not signaling the things that I want to signal through my body language, my nonverbal communication. In addition, paying attention to the cues from our listeners as well. Well, there's an audience virtually looking at their eyes, or in real life, not real life, but in in-person events, seeing if people are looking at their watch. Oh, look at the time. I got to get going, dude.
Now, next guest I'm going to have on the show here, I'm going to ask them to remove their watch. Just So Ron, thank you for sharing that. Now, tell us about how you got into, as you shared the story about how it wasn't a good fit, you realized in terms of the financial investment analysis and whatnot. But at one point you thought it was a good fit. Tell us the story about how you came to that conclusion of pursuing that career, and how you decided that you would get an MBA, and tell us that piece of your journey.
Well, what's interesting was that I actually had some success I had success in finance on Bay Street. For example, when I was doing my MBA, I was part of an investment management team, and we were competing in the National Post's and Financial Post's inaugural MBA investment team challenge, and we won. We competed against all the top schools across Canada, and month after month, we were beating them in risk-adjusted returns. So that led me to a career on Bay Street as an investment analyst. working in the summertime as an MBA intern, and then working full time as well. Mm-hmm. And it was a dream come true. It was an opportunity for me to learn. I love to learn. And one of the reasons why I got into finance was because I wanted to learn more about how the world works, how the world really works, and being involved in that role, meeting thousands of CEOs and CFOs, and being comfortable asking them questions and digging deeper between their messages, their actions, their results, and then looking at the numbers of their company, their performance. It was a valuable learning experience. But I found that I enjoyed being in Toastmasters more, because I was kind of like living a double life. I was doing Toastmasters, going to these lunchtime Toastmasters clubs, going to evening events after work. And I found myself growing in that area. And I noticed that I had a passion for helping other people grow in their communication skills too, and gain their confidence or find their spark. And I naturally did this in my spare time, not getting paid for it. And then I started getting referred to other chapters, other clubs, and other companies and organizations to speak on what I had learned. So I started keeping track of the lessons I learned, the stories that I built, that I developed, and some of the Toastmasters adventures that I've been on. I was even invited by a Toastmasters couple, my friends Elaine and Charles, to attend their wedding and then evaluate their wedding speeches. 2 Toastmasters. They got married. They gave brilliant, heart-touching speeches. And then they asked me to evaluate their speeches. How about that?
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that story, because what I want to highlight for our viewers is that one thing that resonated with me in that story is that you were, working at a job that you worked hard to obtain, again, financial investment analyst, and having pursued your MBA, Master in Business Administration, that takes a bunch of work and a lot of money as well. And, you were, as you said, living your dream, but then have a yearning to do something on the side. And I can't stress it enough, folks, if you only do one thing and your job only, even if you love your job, there might come a day when you realize that you don't quite love your job anymore, or you lose your job or whatever have you, and you have nothing else started yet. So this is this idea of, while you have a great job that you worked hard to obtain, and having finished your MBA, Master's in Business Administration, to actually, try something new. And in this case, it was Toastmasters. In this case, it really resonated with you. In this case, you started to, give it more time and effort and energy in your heart, and also evolve into helping others for free at first, and then soon enough helping others and getting paid for it, and soon enough becoming a professional speaker and trainer in that area. So I can't stress enough, make some time to do something else beyond just doing your job at the office or at work. Do something else as well on the side.
For sure, Dune. I got a kick out of reading about David Solomon, the president of Goldman Sachs, who also DJs.
Oh, love it.
He's headlined. Recently, he was in the headlines for DJing a Chainsmokers concert, I believe in New Jersey. And it's interesting because he felt a little embarrassed about being a big DJ, being out in the circuit. And he was afraid that it might stand in the way of his promotion at Goldman Sachs, the big investment bank. But after giving it some thought, he realized that people wouldn't give him a hard time if he said that his hobby was golf. But instead, his passion happens to be DJing, and he donates all the money that he gets paid to charities. So I've seen Fortune 100s or Fortune 500s Fortune's list of 500 top paid DJs in the world, and some of them get paid quite a lot. And of course, as the president of Goldman Sachs, I don't think he has to worry about money, but he's clearly pursuing this as a passion, and by donating all his profits to charity, it's a great thing. He's pursuing his passion, and he's doing some good as well. He's having an impact.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that story. And a similar story is, you probably know Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yes, I do.
That name rings a bell. So Gary Vaynerchuk, as some of the viewers might know, first of all, I just recently discovered him. And at first, I wasn't sure about some of the words that he would use on live broadcast and whatnot.
What kind of words, dude?
A little bit edgy. And here's the thing. But in my opinion, a great guy. In my opinion, there are stuff that you can learn from Gary. And so he talks about how he still to this day, with all the businesses that he runs and all of the international stuff that he does, he still go to garage sales and buy stuff and enjoy it and flip it for a few dollars profit. Not because he needs the money, clearly, not because that's time well spent, but it is for him because that's it feeds his soul, it feeds his interest and passion for that kind of thing, which hark back to the days when he actually was doing that to actually make money. So anyway, that's another example.
Love it. When it comes down to it, if we're not doing things that feed our soul, then we may not feel as fulfilled. We might not feel that sense of joy. That's so important. And that can be different things for different people. It could be family for some people. It could be sailing for other people. If we can tap into something that we found fulfillment or curiosity in when we were children, that can be a great way for us to get aligned with our passions, I find. And for Gary Vaynerchuk, he's always had a curious mind, and he likes to try things. He likes to dip his finger into different pies and see which works out for him. And I feel like if we all lived our lives with at least a little bit of our childlike curiosity, then we would live more fulfilling lives for many of us. And if we're already doing that, then what can we do to encourage other people to do the same?
Yeah, definitely. So again, you got to water your roots a little bit. And if you abandon your roots, as tall as a tree you might have become, your roots will eventually dies out, and you won't be very healthy that way. But tell us about some of these photos that I'm going to bring up here. It's going to be in somewhat random order, I think. Let me just see here. I'm just going to go back to maybe the beginning here. So this is a really sort of early photo of you, I would imagine.
This is Dune. Yeah, it's an early photo of me, and when I see this photo, it reminds me of what my parents went through in raising me. Because when I was 1.5 years old, I came down with a high-grade continuous fever, and the doctors didn't know what was going on. So when I say high-grade continuous fever, I'm not talking COVID fever. I'm talking 40 degrees Celsius, 103 degrees Fahrenheit. Fever didn't break for 2 weeks. It just kept on raging. And at the best hospital in the city, the doctors thought it might be meningitis. They had a theory that it was meningitis. They did a chest X-ray. They gave me some antibiotics in IV tubes. They plugged me up with tubes, and they even did a spinal puncture. But the tests were inconclusive. The antibiotics were ineffective, and the doctors didn't know what to do. So again, day after day, night after night for 2 weeks, my fever didn't break, and the symptoms, there were no other symptoms. And so I remember hearing that my mom would stay with me in the hospital room, sleeping in the hospital room chair overnight. My dad would go to work, but then come back and be with his family, and then sleep in the car, in the parking lot, in the hospital room. And they would keep doing this day after day, night after night, until finally they noticed that my symptoms started to change. Not only did I have a high-grade continuous fever, but then my mom always said that the skin of my hands and feet began to peel off like a glove, and my lips and tongue turned as red as a strawberry. And that's when the doctor said that they recognized these new symptoms, because the doctor had just come back from a medical conference where we heard about this rare new pediatric disorder called Kawasaki disease. And the doctor said to my parents that Kawasaki disease causes severe inflammation in babies' bodies. And they said to my parents that your boy could die from a heart attack any minute now, but we can save him. And they did. I was Canada's first survivor of Kawasaki disease, a disease that causes these heart attacks in babies.
Wow.
And I'm forever grateful that this doctor, this conference years ago, wasn't afraid to speak, wasn't afraid to speak up, and they were able to communicate their ideas. So I truly believe that a speaker saved my life.
Wow. That's a beautiful and wonderful, fantastic story of you never know how knowledge and how inspiration and how actions can end up influence someone else's life. Right now, there was a conference, and the doctor who spoke there decided to unveil that knowledge, and the doctor who decided to be at the conference absorbed it and actually remembered it and then actually applied it in your situation. Great story.
Thanks, Dune. When it comes down to it, we all have stories too. We all have experiences. We all have insights and wisdom, and you never know who needs to hear what we have to say. You never know what kind of impact we have. There are ripples that cross the water, and you just never know who needs to hear exactly what we have to say.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm guessing these are your parents?
Yeah, this picture always makes you crack up. This photo was taken a few years ago at the Toronto waterfront, the harborfront. And my dad's a very stoic person, and he's just standing there stoically. And then my mom, I guess, is a little more, she's standing behind him, but she's playing peekaboo. So she's cracking up behind him.
Love it. I love it. Oh man! Joy is where you seek, right? If you seek joy in a mundane activity, if you seek joy in just simply standing there and taking a photo, you're gonna get joy out of it. And this is such a beautiful example of that. Love it.
Thanks, dude. Oh, here's a picture of my keynote speakers Advanced Toastmasters Club. And I noticed that Phil Taskey had already done an interview with you. He's over there on the right-hand side. There he is. And Van Vera over in the middle on the second row on the floor there. He was on your show as well recently.
I joke with him.
Our roots are Toastmasters.
Yeah, once in a while I kid with him and I say, so Ven, when are you going to come up with some more powerful diagrams? Cool.
So yeah, we've been through a lot, and certainly we had our experiences going virtual before COVID. You know, Phil had his health scare a few years ago, and we connected to our Toastmasters meetings while he was in the hospital. So he would connect on his laptop, and we would still continue to run hybrid meetings years ago. And I even took him from the hospital. I walked him from I should have thought of an Uber. I should have got him an Uber, but it didn't occur to me. So I picked him up and I wheeled him from the hospital down to our meeting room. And that was like a good 20-minute walk in Toronto with, and Phil's not a light guy. He wasn't a light guy at the time. So it was definitely quite a bit of legwork. But again, it's just been something that we've kept doing, and our community has helped us through many tough times. Yeah. We've been through this together.
Yeah, a friend of mine, Rob Leonard. I don't know if you know Rob Leonard, but he's based in Calgary, but he's been in Toronto. I think grew up there. But Rob Leonard is the Alberta history wrangler. Alberta history wrangler. He actually teaches Alberta history to international students, and he hosts all kinds of wonderful shows and radio events and whatever. So thanks, Rob. Merry Christmas to you as well, my friend. Rob was just saying great photos here, Ron.
Oh, love it. Thanks, Rob. Merry Christmas to you too.
So Ron, was this like one Toastmaster club, or was this at a conference sometime?
This was one Toastmasters club, but it was the open house meeting. So the guests showed up for the photo as well.
Because most of the clubs that I've been, involved with, it's like 20 people, or about 20 people as a typical maximum. That's a lot of folks there. That's less, like almost like 30, right? Yeah,
Toronto seems to have a lot of larger groups. I don't know what else to say. I do know that one of our past presidents, John Hallett, came from District 42 as well, and I know that he was active in Edmonton, and he he told me there's plenty of clubs in different places, and I've visited clubs in other cities and other countries as well, and I've got some photos from those experiences too. And some of them are big, and some of them are small.
Oh, cool.
I guess it just depends on the region.
Yeah, yeah.
Here's a smaller club. Thanks for bringing up this photo, Dune. This is from Japan. So,
oh wow,
yeah, this is the Sakura Toastmasters Club, and I think it's Ometo Sando in Tokyo. And I was pretty nervous going into this Toastmasters Club because I wasn't quite sure how to bow. You know, I'd read on the internet that bowing was a good thing to show respect, and so I wanted to bow. But I discovered that in my readings that different degrees of bowing will signify different levels of respect. So you can show kind of a 15-degree bow, and that shows a minimal amount of respect. And then you go to 30 degrees, and that shows a little bit more respect. 45 when you're bowing forward, 45 degrees, it shows more respect. And then you can drop all the way down to your knees when you're begging for your job or you're begging for your life. And that shows a different level of respect. So I wasn't quite sure how far to bow. And when I walked into the room, I started to bow, and then they stuck out their hand. So the woman in the purple jacket there is the district director for Japan, and she stuck out her hand and introduced herself, and I didn't have to worry at all. So it was really interesting because we obviously have a common interest in Toastmasters, but because of some of the language differences and being in a different country, I wasn't sure what the experience would be like. But the stories they shared and even the speech evaluation they shared were exactly what I would hear here in Toronto. So the experience was similar. It was similar. It's truly a global experience. Fantastic. And one thing I've always said is that Toastmasters is kind of like a global passport. When we can travel again, well, obviously some people around the world in New Zealand and Australia can travel right now, but I encourage people to visit different Toastmasters clubs in different countries. And I always like to do my research and find the clubs that are the highest ranked in the president's club, the DCP points, the distinguished club points, because I know they're high quality clubs. And it's a great experience. With the Sakura Toastmaster Club in Tokyo, they took me out for dinner afterwards. So we had a second round, and that's something I brought back to my keynote Toastmasters Club. Having a second round, having a social, having some food or having a drink after the meeting to really get to know each other better. And truly grateful for that experience in Tokyo and for visiting all these different clubs as well.
Yeah, yeah. Now, if I can just comment on a couple of things that resonated with me, a few things. One of them is that, well, first of all, she threw you a lifeline there with your bowing. You know, just reach out and shook your hands and say, "Don't worry about it. We know you're foreign." But the other thing is when you visit people who value you as a guest, it's just a wonderful experience. So a reminder for all of us when we have guests among us. Just really go the extra mile to give them an experience that, these folks here, they meet each other probably once a week, but you as a guest only see them or only, interact with them for that one time and maybe never again. And they were very conscious in really the hospitality that they extend and all that kind of stuff. Just a reminder for all of us to do that when we can, right?
Another fun thing was that I offered to help out in any way. So as I emailed them before attending, I just said, "Hey, listen, I'm happy to help in any way in the meeting. If you need a speech evaluator, if you need a speaker, if you want me to be a timer, happy to help, not just be a guest, but to contribute to your meeting." And it turned out that there was a typhoon and half of the club didn't show up. So they needed a speaker. So there it was. They asked me to be a speaker. So I spoke to the group. I believe they gave me a speech evaluation. They loved it, and it was valuable for me to hear their feedback as well.
Wonderful. There you go. Again, every time there's an uncertain event, there can always be new opportunities that were not there before. And if we can rise up to the occasion, that could be a very special experience that out of nothing. You didn't plan to speak there. They didn't plan to have you speak, but the typhoon has other plans.
That's so true, Dune. So true. So what's the silver lining in the typhoon?
Yeah. Wonderful. Now here you are at probably looks like your home club maybe, or?
No, this is in Taiwan. So as I said, I've visited different clubs in different countries, even visited the world's oldest Toastmasters club in California, in District 1, the Founders District. But this is a great group of people here in Taiwan. And I made some good friends there, and they took me out, gave me tours of Taiwan. We went hiking in Taroko Gorge, the Taiwanese equivalent of the Grand Canyon, I guess. And it was just a great experience. So finding other people who have a common interest can be a great way to do some new things, learn some new skills, to make sure that we stay connected. We're not just doing things on our own. So if I was traveling, I would definitely reach out to other people who share the same interests and find a way to connect and have a discussion. Just like we're having a discussion right now, Dune.
Yeah.
And then, other people's friends can be involved, and we can have a good time. So having this global passport of a shared interest, a shared hobby, common passion really makes a big difference.
So you went from being one of those kind of kept to yourself and individual hobbies and things like that, as you referred to before, to becoming somebody who's really committed to and also very interested in connecting with people all over the world and of like-minded people who have similar interests and whatnot. So in other words, Toastmaster has transformed you, my friend.
That's a good take, dude. I hadn't thought of that before. But I would say it helped me realize things by being in that environment. It helped me realize what I really do love, what really does bring me joy, and I get that joy from CAPS as well, the Professional Speakers Association that we belong to, the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers. Being with like-minded people, working on similar projects, being on similar paths, growing together. We may be in different boats in the ocean, or we may be on different paths, different parts of the path, but we're all in the same ocean, or we're still on the same path, and we learn and grow together, and we also share and belong. So I think that's something that I didn't realize was important to me, but I discovered that through being in a supportive environment with like-minded people who share the same interests, who are interested in personal development and are acting altruistically while helping each other learn and grow. So there are other communities like this, and I definitely encourage everyone to tap into their community, whether it's a local church group or a local interest group or a charity or a hobby group, because it's, as you said, Dune, we don't want to just focus on one thing, whether it's our career or one interest. It's really important for us to be well diversified, not just in terms of an investment portfolio, but in terms of our interests and our skills, because you just never know when things change. You never know when situations might require us to adapt, and having a variety of skills and a variety of interests can help us get through those situations, and then help us not just survive, but thrive.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Now, I just put up not only CAPS, but also Toastmasters International there. And I know they've done a lot of rebranding and refocusing, and now it's not just speaking as a huge focus, but also speaking and leadership skills. And that's been like that for the last number of years, where the leadership skills became more and more prominent in that. Tell us about that, as I perhaps bring in the website there. Now, we did not plan on this, but since you are so passionate about Toastmasters, I thought it would be fitting to perhaps bring in the website here of Toastmasters, and let's see if we can see that as well. So tell us a bit more about Toastmasters International.
Sure, Dune. Well, I joke that the slogan of Toastmasters seems to be that it's where leaders are made, but I joke that it's where leaders aren't paid, because everyone's a volunteer, whether they're in a chapter or they're in a regional level, and everybody learns by doing. So I feel like the leaders are developed by doing things, by working on projects together, working towards a common goal, and making sure that they are able to get things done and reflect on what they've done, and then talk about it, share their learning lessons. So I feel like it's more of a laboratory.
I love your funny statement about rather than saying it's where leaders are made, which is of course where the official Toastmasters slogan, but you had to play on it and say where leaders are not paid. But interestingly enough, while I agree with what you're saying, and I find that quite funny, and it's good, it all in good fun. But in a way, we are, you know, when you join Toastmasters, you are paid in different currency. You are paid in self-development. You're paid in enriched relationship with others. You're paid in many different ways. So I think as much as we joke about it, and I enjoy that joke there, we have to recognize that, you know, there's a whole lot of benefits as you kept talking about. I'm just kind of wrapping up and saying, in a sense, our payment is in many different areas, right?
That's so true, Dune. It could be a spiritual payment. It could be payment in skills. It could be a payment in relationships. When we, you know, give, sometimes we get, and sometimes we give without expectations of getting, and sometimes we get something. And I feel that could be that'd be a great way to feel fulfilled, to learn some new skills, and to do this in a safe environment. And I've always found that working for a service organization, volunteering, being voluntold for a service organization is a great way for us to practice in a safe place. Because if we say the wrong thing in our career or in our business, we can get fired or we could lose a customer. But if we try new things, run some new programs or projects in a service club, the worst thing that happens is maybe we get some, I don't know, angry emails or people are mildly disturbed. But they know that we're doing this altruistically. We're doing this for free. We're donating our time and our energy and our efforts, and we're not getting fired. So it's a great opportunity for us to practice doing things in a safe environment.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to organizations as well, doing volunteer work, being involved with Toastmasters or service organizations can be a great way for people to cultivate their leadership skills if they don't have those opportunities at work. Mm-hmm. If you're a very technically minded person, for example, if you're not a people manager, if you're a subject matter expert, or if you work by yourself, then you may not have the opportunity to lead a team. You may not have direct reports. So being involved outside of work can be a great way to build those skills and to hone those talents that you may have.
Well, wonderful.
In a safe environment.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's fair to say that you have a heart for Toastmasters, and it's fair to say that you have a heart for communication, and it's fair to say that you have a heart for connecting with others. Now, tell us a little bit about how you discovered CAPS. We both belong to CAPS. I joined CAPS back in 2010, March 2010. Been to 10 annual conventions in person, and then the 11th one just now, a couple of weeks ago, all virtual, was fantastically well done. Thanks to all those who were involved in putting that up, and I'm sure you have a good role in that as well. So tell us a little bit about how you discovered CAPS while we're kind of being in Toastmasters and focused on that.
Well, there's a connection to Toastmasters as well from between CAPS and Toastmasters, because I'd been aware of CAPS through Ross Mackay, and Ross Mackay was a member of my Keynote Speakers Advanced Toastmasters Club, very prominent Toastmaster in my region and my district, and I know that he was one of the founding members of CAPS. So being involved in that and hearing from him and having enormous respect for him, I wanted to join CAPS. It was just kind of this level where I'm here and I want to get here. If Toastmasters is for people who are building their skills or are practicing in a laboratory, what's next? I didn't want to just keep puttering around in the same laboratory. So I knew that I wanted to grow more. And Ross always said that Toastmasters can be a great place to learn speaking and to learn the skills. And CAPS is a great place to learn the business. And that's what I took away from our conversation. That's what I always remembered. And so joining CAPS and qualifying for CAPS had been a goal of mine when I was in Toastmasters. Let me get to the next level. And my first exposure to CAPS, an actual CAPS event, was at the 2014 convention in Toronto. I believe that was a year, and Ross was there, and Phil Taskey was there, and Carol Schulte were there, and it was a wonderful experience to be there. I wasn't even a member yet. I wanted to go check it out since it was in Toronto, and all I had to do was pay my fee and show up. And I sat in the back, and I listened, and I was deeply moved by what I heard on the stage. I remember hearing Tony Newman with her come to Jesus moment, talking about CAPS, and it was so inspirational. And I remember hearing Alvin Law, what a brilliant performance and a brilliant speaker. I'd never forgotten that. And I see that you brought up the photograph, the website from the CAPS website, CanadianSpeakers.org, and then Tony Newman herself, real legend. So again, Hall of Fame speakers, Tony Newman, Alvin Law. I've had tremendous respect for them. I have tremendous.
Can you spot me in the picture there?
There you are, right in the learn area, dude. I love it. The special cameo appearance.
There you go. I was definitely learning. So
yeah, so those experiences actually helped shape my book. There were a few key elements from my book, from presentation to standing ovation, and hearing the ovations and experiencing the standing ovations with Tony Newman after she spoke, and then Alvin Law after he spoke as well. They brought the house down, and I was so caught up in that feeling, and I wanted to write about that. And it was a tremendous privilege for me and an honor for me to include Alvin Law in my book, From Presentation to Standing Ovation, talking about his ovations, talking about his experiences. And he's a deeply inspiring person. Alvin's laws of life. Yeah. What a guy.
Hey, that's an interesting arrangement there with you and Toastmasters on the top there, where you started from, and CAPS there, where you ended up. And of course, you kept in contact with both of them and actively involved in both of them. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it. That's a great visual. I love it.
Yeah.
So again, the through line is just the community, and also the passion, and not getting paid. We're all doing this because we're not getting paid money, but we're getting paid in other ways, spiritual or relationships or skill development, sense of belonging. We're motivated by different things, and intrinsically, I feel like there's enough of a common interest for us to connect and to learn, share, and grow and belong together as professional speakers. Yeah, and that means different things to different people. What does it mean to be a professional speaker? Well, you may have a different definition than I do, because some people think keynote speakers. Some people think of a Chris Hadfield, for example, as their definition of a keynote speaker. Or some people think of a Tony Robbins. But you and I are both educators as well, and trainers and consultants. We're helping people, and we're also monetizing the spoken word with groups of people, of two or more. So I feel like that's a pretty good definition. We all belong. We're keynote speakers, we're corporate trainers, we're coaches, we're facilitators, we're consultants. Maybe we're course creators, maybe we're internet influencers, but we're all in this together.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that. And just for fun, I'm going to hop on here, and because we have all those things in common, my friend. Look at that. Look at the four things. Hey, you, me, and Toastmasters and CAPS.
Yeah, we got a quadrant here. Yeah, I love it.
So now I have to look up to you, Ron.
How's the weather down there, dude?
The weather down here is good down here. So Ron, tell us a bit more about, so when you think about communication, what are some common mistakes that people make in communication that you can share with viewers who might be thinking, what are common mistakes that I could perhaps manage or kind of avoid or mitigate? Tell us a bit about that.
Well, there's so many things that can go wrong in our communication. And I certainly don't want people to sound canned when they're speaking or when they're writing. I don't think it's a great idea for us to look and sound like other people. We have to know ourselves and then know our audience. So I think one of the biggest mistakes is trying to sound like someone else or trying to be someone else, but at the same time, not understanding or adapting to our audience. So we can avoid this mistake of not knowing ourselves and not knowing our audience by understanding our natural strengths and perhaps some of our areas for opportunities for improvement, and then understanding our audiences as well, understanding what they want, what they don't want, and how we can be of value to them. So that may mean doing our research. It may mean talking to our audience beforehand or probing some other people. And it may mean doing some reflection on our own as well. You know, if I'm an introvert, an analytical type of person, a scientist, and I'm communicating with other scientists, then we can get along just fine. But if we are scientists talking to what I call the TV hosts, people who are more outgoing, more people-oriented, then who are more emotional, it can be a real challenge for us to connect with them. They may feel that we're standoffish, that we're aloof, that we're rejecting them. But that's not the case. It's just in how we come across and how they interpret what we do and what we say. So it can be a mistake to not recognize how to accommodate and adjust our communication styles to our audiences. And likewise, if we are a very outgoing A-type personality, we're driven by checklists and accomplishing tasks and achievements, but we're communicating with people who are more soft-spoken, more humble, a little more quiet. I say that they're sports agents talking to the support. Sports agents can talk to other sports agents just fine. They get along just fine. But and support can communicate with each other and connect and engage with each other just fine. But when they're talking to each other, there can be real challenges. The support may feel like the sports agents are communicating with them, like communicating at them, not communicating with them. And it can be like communicating with a freight train running right at you, running right towards you. So that can be a real challenge. So understanding that can help the sports agents, some of these A-types, slow down and perhaps allow the support, the more quiet, humble, sensitive types to reflect and maybe ask questions to draw them out, give them time to process before continuing, making sure they're being valued and heard. At the same time, the support can learn to be more concise and offer things that are bottom line focused, that are just tailored directly towards what the sports agents are looking for. So there's opportunities for us to really connect and engage at a level that helps us understand each other, right? Shared meaning and shared understanding. So I think that's the biggest mistake to avoid, not knowing yourself and not knowing your audience. And we can overcome that with understanding and with effort.
Yeah. As you might know, you probably do know, I play a lot of guitar in many different bands and professional in many of those cases. And so when I do that, you go home and you practice and you learn the guitar and you learn music and whatnot. But when you're on stage and performing, you got to just engage with the audience. This is not the time to whip out every technique that you know. This is the time to serve the song, to serve the singers, to serve the audience, and really just engage in that. And so we have to learn enough about communications to then be comfortable not inflicting all of those things, the techniques, on the person we're communicating to. We really just meet them where they're at. So once we meet them where they're at, we can then hopefully take them somewhere worthwhile, right, together, right?
I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that in this virtual world that many of us are living in right now, engagement is also important. That may mean making sure that people can see and hear us, that we make sure that the people that we're talking to or the people in our meetings feel acknowledged, that they know that we're recognizing them, and engaging them in the chat, engaging them with polls or engaging them with questions, making sure that they are seen and heard and that they're not just watching television passively, but that they're an actual part of the experience. And being virtual, even as a professional speaker, opens up so many new doors. Mm-hmm. We're able to offer learning aids and performance support with pre-recorded videos in addition to live events and live lessons. So we can deliver synchronously and asynchronously. We can offer programs and support in small, medium, and large packages in different sizes before, during, and after our programs, our lessons, our events. And this is something that we can continue to do during COVID and after. So I feel like this is a really interesting opportunity. Again, the silver linings in these dark clouds.
Thank you for sharing that. Now, I do want to perhaps look at some of these photos more closely that we haven't done yet, and maybe tell us stories that resonate from those photos. But before we go there, I would love to perhaps hear a story of, with all the speaking that you've been doing for decades and the stages that you're on and the training sessions that you've been in. Do you have a story, a bit of a blooper story of something that went wrong? Even professional speakers make mistakes, even professional musicians mess up the guitar solo or whatever have you. So do you have a story of communication went wrong that you can share and what we can learn from that?
I think the most embarrassing thing that I personally experienced was getting food poisoning just before giving a talk. I don't know what lesson I can learn from that, except maybe don't eat before your talk. But it was just really, really, really uncomfortable. That's all I can say. And I really had to cut my short talk because my stomach was going in different places that I didn't want it to go. Wow. And people came up to me after the talk, even though I had accelerated the finish. I still powered through it, made sure the lessons were there. I'm still engaging with the audience, but secretly I'm actually sweating bullets. I'm covered in sweat. And I'm kind of hunched over a little bit, and I'm trying to squeeze my hands together. Tricks of the trade, but I'm pushing through it. But then people were coming up to me afterwards. People came up to me afterwards. They were asking me questions, and I had to lean on a chair. I was hunched over again. I couldn't shake anyone's hands because my hands were so sweaty. So I don't know what lessons I can share from that, except that have an exit plan. Always look for the door. When you get up on a stage, you know where you need to go. But have emergency package. If I had some emergency pills, then that could have been helpful as well. So be prepared. That lesson I think taught me to be better prepared. Whether it's knowing where to navigate right away after the talk, ready to sneak off, or having some apparatus, some tools, some aids to help me in these situations. I remember though. This was not a paid speaking engagement, but I was invited to speak at my cousin's wedding in California, to MC this wedding. And it was a challenge for me because...
Vinny?
I beg your pardon?
I said, was his name Vinny? No.
My cousin Vinny. I actually just saw that movie recently for the first time this year. What a great movie. I watched it multiple times. I love that movie. So, and again, I only just watched it for the first time this year. But my cousin Leanne was getting married in California, and she's Chinese, her husband's Korean, and she made a request that I speak in Korean to honor her husband's side of the family. I didn't speak any Korean. So it was a challenge for me to speak in English, Cantonese, and Korean on very short notice. And at the same time, the wedding party was gigantic, the biggest wedding party I've ever seen. So some people might have, I don't know, maybe 3 to 6 people in the wedding party, and they had 10 on each side. So it was like 20 people. So as the MC, I had a notebook, and I was reading through the list and providing descriptions, and it was a very interesting experience, balancing the English, the Korean, the Chinese, and then remembering all these details for these 20 people. And I don't know if it was embarrassing. Actually, no, it was kind of embarrassing because I watched a video recording afterwards, and I could distinctly hear the audience saying, "What's he saying? I think that's Korean. Is he trying to speak Korean?"
Now I gotta ask. Being from that similar background, right? I gotta ask. Did the ceremony start on time, my friend?
I guess you're thinking about a stereotype that Asians are late. Is that
it? Certainly in the Vietnamese community, we would start, performances, musical performances and shows and weddings and whatnot. Being fashionably late is a little bit of a thing, isn't it?
That's funny. That's funny. What's interesting, though, is some of these cultural stereotypes, there may be some commonalities and there may be some truth in that, but there's obviously some exceptions. So, for example, there's a common stereotype that Asians are good at math, and maybe we both have, analytical backgrounds. I don't know if I'm good at math. I actually started off in university majoring in math. I started majoring in computer science at the University of Waterloo, and I don't know why I did that, because the theoretical math courses were way beyond me. And I remember to qualify for the University of Waterloo, I had to write these math contests. I actually, you're the first person I told this to, but I scored the lowest in the high school because they posted the grades of these math competitions, like the Fermat or the Pascal math competitions, and I did not do well in this contest, which was a requirement to get into Waterloo. So while some Asians are good at math, not all are. Another Asian stereotype is that we're bad drivers. So again, some Asians are bad drivers, but not all of them are. Some of them have to be good drivers.
Hey, I must underscore, kudos for getting into Waterloo. I know Waterloo is fantastic for anything related to mathematics and mathematics in particular. I think when I think of mathematics and Waterloo and how difficult it is to get in there, right?
Yeah, thank you. I've made so many different changes and I've explored so many different areas that I don't know if I'm the role model for a linear path in a career. I've bounced around and tried so many different things, and it's given me some different experiences. That's right. But I'm reminded of a lesson from Steve Jobs in his Stanford commencement speech. Mm-hmm. So at Stanford, he said that we see lots of dots in life, and we may not connect the dots together and see the pattern until we're done, until we're further along the journey. Mm-hmm. These dots may represent random noise and random patterns while we're going through them. But when we start to look back in some quiet time or some further along in the future, we can see how the dots connect together. And I feel like in having this conversation today, Dune, you're connecting some of the dots with me and for me, and also together as well.
Fantastic. Hey, we're here to connect communities and connecting the dots. So wonderful that you believe we're doing a bit of that. So that's cool. Now on to the next dot, my friend. On to the next dot. I want to ask you again, university or college teaching and whatnot. I've done lots of that myself. I've actually taught 68 different courses in 5 programs at 4 universities, part-time on contracts. I've been there, done that, and enjoyed it, and still do some of that right now. It's online now. But tell us, what's your experience of teaching at a college or university as it relates to, as compared to speaking on stages for, whether it's keynotes or Toastmasters or whatever have you? Bring in the perspective, the similarities and differences, if you could.
Well, I'm always reminded that there are 4 E's of the NSA, the National Speakers Association. And one of those E's is eloquence. It's not just expertise. That's one of them. Expertise, ethics, enterprise, but also eloquence. And there are many people who are experts at their subject, but they're not very eloquent. And that's why I personally feel that my exposure to CAPS and my interest in communication helps me be a better educator. It helps me be a better corporate trainer, and it helps me help people get results, clients and students. And the eloquence can come from stories. It can come from engagement. It can come from examples. And I like to show videos in my class lectures, whether it's in person, face to face, or online, screen to screen. And the videos are the same videos that I would show in a keynote or in a corporate training session. They're illustrations, they're case studies, they're examples from TV commercials, for example. And I make a point, I show the video, and then I engage in a discussion. So the audience, students or employees or leaders can feel something. Maybe they laugh and they get the point, and then we discover it together. So having that eloquence and that engagement, an extra bonus E, can make all the difference in the world. because someone can be very smart, they can be brilliant. But I'm reminded of a quote from former Chrysler chairman Lee Iacocca, who once said that we can have brilliant ideas, but if we can't express these ideas, if these ideas get stuck in our mind, we can't get our ideas across, and those ideas won't get anywhere. The ideas are worthless if we can't get them across. So making sure that we're eloquent, making sure that we're engaging can make all the difference in the world. And also being able to navigate and connect in a nonverbal way, making sure that we're making eye contact, making sure that we're walking close and engaging with the students, either on the screen or in person, can help people feel like it's an experience, as opposed to some educators or even some subject matter experts who stand behind a podium, or they sit behind a lectern while they're reciting a set of slides. And that's not engaging. That's not interesting. That's not eloquent. So they may be brilliant, but there has to be a better way of getting the audience to buy in. Yeah. And I'm mindful of the balance between being the sage on the stage and the guide on the side. I know there's times to facilitate as well, and there's times to coach and to consult. We just have to know who we are as communicators and as people, what aligns with us, what resonates with us, and what can resonate with our audience. So we can pick different tools and apply them at different times. We can be like one of those safety Swiss Army knives, for example. And I think it connects back to your point, but not just doing one thing in your career or in your life, not just focusing on one skill. Because if you only have a hammer, everything in life looks like a nail. Every problem needs to be solved with a hammer. But if we have different skills, if we can facilitate and be eloquent and tell great stories, but also transform and affect skill, behavior or change behaviors, then we're really making a big impact. And we can be so much more versatile in different audiences and have, again, a real impact on people's lives.
I so much agree with that. It seems like we're cut from the same cloth there, my friend. But I heard a couple of, a phrase that really resonated with me as well. That's very catchy that I want to highlight for our viewers again. You said, you can decide to go with the sage on the stage or guide on the side. They rhyme. Are you a lyricist, my friend? Do you write poems and things like that?
I'm not quite the musician that you are. I'm not the rock star that you are, dude. But that's something that I've heard for years, and I just keep repeating it. And because it rhymes, it's easy to remember. Mm-hmm. I think that's part of the eloquence as well. I mean, there are speakers or educators with bullet points, slides filled with 20 bullet points, or acronyms that are 22 letters long. Who's going to remember that? A lot of this information is valuable, much needed, but it's going to go over our audience's heads. And unfortunately, it's not going to have the impact that we think it might have. So we really have to be mindful of our audience. It's going to work for them.
Less is more. Now, you mentioned the rock star thing. I just want to tell a quick funny story. That year, your first year at CAPS, 2014, you said, I think it was. That was a year in Toronto. So that was the year that we came back to Toronto, and we, the band that I was in, professional speakers, Ovation, played in Toronto. And after our set, we came down. I came off the stage, and a pretty, respectable musician came up to me and said, "Hey, Dune, you play like a rock star, but you look like an accountant." I'll always remember that comment.
Wow.
I have it was a compliment, or it was fun. I love this guy, and it was a great compliment. So I think, so now I have to make sure that, maybe I need to play more like an accountant, but, I have a video here that I'm going to bring in. I don't know how that even, to use different pics. I have a video that I like to roll here, my friend, and tell us about this, just a part of this video, the CAPS Toronto video, before I bring it in here.
Sure, dude. So we both attended VCon, the CAPS Nationals virtual convention last week, and it was an amazing experience that shows what we can do together in this digital world, both during COVID and after COVID. And the video that you're going to see is a product of our local chapter, CAPS Toronto. And I was a host for events, multiple events each month during the year as the CAPS Toronto president of 2020. And in this video, I will share some of the lessons that our members have shared, and I'll be facilitating some conversations quickly for some of the best nuggets that can help our speakers, both professional speakers and aspiring speakers, in 2021. So this video debuted at VCon, the CAPS virtual convention.
Yeah, let me bring it in, and I believe we're going to just play a part of it, and so that would be the wrong part. Let me just go ahead and bring in the video here. Give me a second, though. So the video, how did you produce it and do it through COVID here? Tell us a little bit about the process that you went through.
The video was recorded through Zoom. It was co-hosted by myself and Dr. Stephen DeWitt, aka Dr. Durex, who's a sex educator who speaks on sex. And the two of us basically facilitated this video, hosted this video like a radio show, kind of the way that we hosted and facilitated some of the CAPS Toronto chapter meetings online. We brought some of the same energy, and I remember hearing some of the nuggets and lessons from our meetings, and then applying some of my video editing skills from this hobby I've picked up. Went through different meetings and watched them and listened to sound bites, and I recorded them, and I brought them up in the video, and I spliced the clips together, and I added a copyright-free soundtrack. So here it is, and here's our immediate past president, Sarah McVannell, president of CAPS Toronto in 2019, sharing, wrapping up with her tip, and then we'll get into a rapid fire segment with me and Stephen.
Right, we got rapid fire, the best of the people that learned the most.
What lessons did they pick up from our 2020 meetings? Teresa Sire, get an app and sell it to your clients. Barb says improvements are interesting, but pain pays. Krista Harcourt, it's not about the content, have strategic conversations. Sharon Babineau, must have meaningful conversations. Conversations create cash, I love it. Mike Raver says the advantage of bringing larger products into smaller ones, bite-sized chunks.
Sometimes it's a matter of altering our delivery in terms of what we do, but sometimes it's a matter of going deeper. And the idea behind everything we're doing today is about serving our audience best. And there are times where that will increase our revenue in the midst of this pivot, and there are times that it may not bring in immediate revenue, but we are planting the seeds for deeper foundations.
Shelly says, put makeup on for every Zoom. So Dr. Durex, who's our next caller?
Take it away, Roxanne.
Thank you, Ron, for sharing that. There's a bunch of rock stars in that in there. Lots of rock stars, in fact.
Well, Dune, it takes one to know one. So as a rock star yourself, I feel like, yes, we do have some great rock stars in our chapter, and generous souls as well. People sharing their time and their wisdom and their insights to help us learn and grow and get through this time together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that. I do want to get back to the photos and have you tell some more stories and bring up some insights that those photos kind of paint the picture for or set the backdrop for. So let me get back to that. I think we were right about here, my friend, and I'm going to go ahead and bring it back in here. And tell us about some of these stories that kind of the photos bring out.
Oh, this is a lot of fun. So this is, I'm emceeing and hosting the book launch of my friend Najib Khan. His book is called Fluid. And he's an architect who's got a real flair for design. And he designed he designed the walls. He designed the placement of the room. He designed the experience, and it's a real honor and privilege to host this event. And I'm reminded of all the free talks and emceeing that I've done to get to where I am now, helping me hone my craft and cut my teeth and continue to stay connected to different communities. And that was a great experience. And Najib's a great friend.
Yeah, I just love the look of that. Everybody is so, it's like a very close community by the looks of it, and people are just kind of engaged there. That's wonderful.
I miss live events.
Yeah, we all do.
Here I am in front of a classroom. Again, knowing how to engage our participants, whether they're students or employees or clients, is absolutely critical. Being able to stand up in front of the audience. One lesson that I share, I know it's a bit dated, but I share the difference between Bill Clinton and George Bush Sr. in I think it was the 1992 U.S. presidential debates. And I don't want to get into politics here, but I think it's universally agreed upon that Bill Clinton came across as being more engaging on camera with his debates, while George Bush Sr., again, smart guy, don't want to get any political debates, but he naturally was more of an introverted, analytical person, and he didn't come across as being as engaging as Bill Clinton on camera. And he was caught checking his watch and rolling his eyes. The cameras picked up on that. And the voters were not happy with how he came across, the signals that he sent. And even some of the messages that he shared suggested, again, that he didn't care. And whether that was true or not, it was just the message that was sent and reinforced with his body language. Didn't send the signals that he wanted to send. But it was a trap because Bill Clinton's team set up this first U.S. presidential town hall debate. It had never been set up that way before, but they knew that George Bush Sr. would come across that way to the American public on camera. And Bill Clinton, when answering questions, would walk up to the people who asked the questions, and he would walk up to the camera as well, and he would come across being more engaging. It's like he could reach out and really engage and connect and touch the people on the other end of the screen in a way that George Bush did not. Mm-hmm. So I find that making sure that we consistently engage, we have the mindset and the intention to engage and connect with our audience, to pay attention to them, can make a world of difference no matter who we are or who we speak to.
Yeah. Well, I've taught lots and lots of courses at many universities, but you are much better dressed than I am for those situations, my friend. I've never had a handkerchief and what is it? Is it purple or pink? Pretty cool looking.
Yeah, thanks. It's all orange.
Orange. Okay. Good. So thank you for sharing that. And again, I just love, I love learning and I love teaching by extension.
So this is another one of the events that I ran. So in order for me to qualify for CAPS, I knew that I had to start getting paid to speak as a Toastmaster. And I did that by running my own events, by hosting events, by organizing events, and getting paid to speak at other events. And this was one of the events that I brought together. I brought together other speakers as part of this community that I've been running for a few years now, called the Toronto Entrepreneurs of Passion and Purpose. And Phil McKernan is here on the left. Floyd Marinescu, the founder of the Toronto Entrepreneurs of Passion and Purpose years ago. Jason Gaynard behind him, founder of Mastermind Talks, the most exclusive high-end entrepreneur event. They accept fewer people into their program, into their event than Harvard accepts students. And Saul Orwell, the founder of Examine.com, the guy with a beard, his beard game is strong. And he's run other community building events in Toronto, including cookies, involving cookies. He's organized the chocolate chip cookie off for a couple of years now in Toronto and New York, bringing together amazing people to taste cookies. And all the money, all the proceeds would go to charity, to entrepreneur-related charities and to food-related charities, people who need the food. And he raised tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars through his events, bringing together communities and also connecting people through food. And Carol Schulte is there behind me and behind Saul as well. And she goes to a lot of events and is a huge supporter of a lot of people. And She's the person who really drove me to go to the CAPS convention in Toronto in 2014. She sent me an email, and we're both part of the same advanced Toastmasters club at one point. So she's the one who sent me the email with a reminder to attend. So I'm grateful for all my friends. I'm grateful for all the people in these various communities. Definitely the Toronto entrepreneurs of passion and purpose. Again, with the same mindset and the same heart set of like-minded people with similar interests, similar maybe similar backgrounds, maybe similar projects, all working together to help each other learn and grow together. Oh, and I forgot Candace Marie between Philip and between Floyd as well. So these are all great people, and Philip was the speaker, one of the speakers, and Floyd and Saul. Saul was one of the speakers, and Jason as well, one of the speakers. So you've got two different photographs. This is one of the speaker events. The acronym for the Toronto Entrepreneurs of Passion and Purpose is TEP, T-E-P-P. And the first photo that you saw there was from one of the TEP talks, real enlightening events, for learning events for speakers. And it was a privilege for me to be kind of a learning chair or a programming chair for TEP. And then there's another picture of more of a black tie gala. This is an awards gala. Real privilege to be part of the founding committee from TEP, the TEP Awards, recognizing people in the community, the local community, who have been real North Stars for impact-driven, purpose-driven, mission-driven entrepreneurs, and rising stars as well, recognizing them and shining a spotlight on people who may not have had the spotlight shone on them. People might not normally recognize, or people who might not normally be seen as role models, but here they are. We're giving them the chance to be seen and be heard, to show that they're valued and recognized. And it was a real magnificent event. Black tie gala, great speakers, great food, great experience working with the team to celebrate entrepreneurship, to celebrate excellence, and to celebrate our impact that we can make together.
So really entrepreneurs spotlight, so to speak.
And real grassroots too. So it's not like we were sponsored by any big companies. We're all doing this on our own, doing this together. Mm-hmm. And again, it was just an opportunity to dress up as entrepreneurs. Many of us, especially when we work from home or work on our own, we don't dress up, right? So here's a great opportunity to dress up and to celebrate. And I give tremendous props and respect to Eichel Thurlow there on the right-hand side, and to Lucas Tsang, and also to, in the middle there, Josh Leslie, as my core 4 original organizers of the event. Definitely a real highlight of the past couple of years, and in my work with the Toronto Entrepreneurs of Passion and Purpose.
Fantastic. There's connecting the dots again. Your speaking background, your business background, and the financial analysis background. All of those things. If we care to draw upon them in a sort of an effective way, we can really engage in ways that maybe others who don't have all those different backgrounds might feel a little bit shy away from, right?
Yeah, that's well put. That's well put. And in a way, I just have kept doing the things that I've always enjoyed doing, that I've discovered, starting with, say, Toastmasters, for example, and then continuing on through the Toronto Entrepreneurs of Passion and Purpose with TEP, and then with CAPS as well. And this is a photo, I recognize this photo. It's from the first event that I attended. I wasn't a member, but I went to the convention. Carol reminded me about it. Ross was the one who first introduced me to CAPS. And I was there with my friends from Toastmasters, Ileana and Phil Taskey. And it was a real eye-opener, and it was a real tearjerker. And it was a great way for me to get a taste of what was possible. I'll always remember Stephanie Staples telling me that CAPS is like an all-you-can-eat buffet. It's up to you to go up to the table and to get what you want, I guess, to help yourself. But I feel like it's a tremendous community. And people generally really do care for each other in a way that most people, you wouldn't expect that from an association.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's very unique and special both of us and to pretty much all of the CAPS members that I ever hear from. They all have the same sentiments. So anyway, it sounds like you were hooked. You were hooked on the first convention.
That's right. I wasn't a member. I went to the convention. I sat at the back, and then I quickly became a member. And it was a real dream come true. Again, coming from that background where I was a Toastmaster. There wasn't an on-ramp to the professional speaking world, but I found a way by speaking and then getting referred and running my own events and running events with other groups. So it was a real, it's been a real honor and privilege for me to be part of CAPS and to serve at the chapter level for many years. And then now to serve at the national level and to be involved in coordinating, channeling programming efforts across the country, unifying our events, our meetings, our programs from coast to coast. And here's a photo from Halifax, the East Coast,
yes,
with Jack Canfield, the co-creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul, the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, as well as one of my favorite books on personal development. It's called The Success Principles. And Jack Canfield, he really influenced my thinking, and he really influenced the tone of my book. It's my book, From Presentation to Standing Ovation, is quite inspirational. And it comes from him. And it was a real honor for me to hear that he would be the keynote speaker at the CAPS convention in Halifax. So when I found out that he'd be speaking, I sent him an email and I asked him if he would be so kind as to take a look at my book and perhaps write a little blurb. And he said, sure, I'd be happy to. Give me a copy that I can read on the plane ride back to California, and I'd be happy to let you know what I think. So there I am. I'm meeting him for the first time, showing him my book, and getting my copy signed of The Success Principles. And he pointed to the cover. He put his finger right here and said, that's a great title, From Presentation to Standing Ovation. It's rhyming. It rhymes.
There you go with your rhyming again. And that's fantastic.
Read the book, and he said, yes, I'd be happy to endorse the book. And right on the cover of the book, right in the front here, I don't know if we can focus on this. It's out of focus. But it says, this book is full of valuable ideas and techniques for how to become a great speaker. I highly recommend it. So that was a dream come true for one of my heroes in personal development and even in life to endorse my book. And it happened because of CAPS.
There you go. And it also happens because you were brave enough to take the steps of asking him and engaging with him in a way that some other people might not have been comfortable in doing. So it takes all kinds of different factors for these magical moments to happen, right?
You're absolutely right. Thank you, Dune. You're absolutely right. And I share this story, I guess, in part because it's something that people can do. I didn't think it was possible to write to one of my heroes and ask them to endorse my book or to say something kind or even to read my book. And here it is. He's right on the cover. And we had Brian Tracy keynote the recent VCon, the virtual convention for CAPS. Brian Tracy wrote something nice about my book in the back too. He said, this extraordinary book is loaded with great ideas you can use immediately to become a more powerful and persuasive speaker. So once again, it's the power of knowing what you want, but also being part of a community that can make these moments happen.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, of course, Brian Tracy, those who do not know of Brian Tracy, lots of us in the personal development space and training and all that education know Brian Tracy as an icon in the industry. But of course, again, he's a leading self-development guru, I'm going to say, or use another word if you like, but really a top-notch expert in that space, right?
Absolutely, Dune. And that's why it's definitely an honor and a privilege to be seen and recognized by legends like Jack Canfield and Brian Tracy.
Yeah. Wonderful. Now, your book is available on Amazon as well. So do me a favor and maybe just recite the title and tagline of the book again. I might have it handy here in my thing, but go ahead.
Sure, Dune. It's called From Presentation to Standing Ovation, 15 Actionable Ideas to Achieve Massive Influence.
Love it, love it. Now I'm going. I believe I have it handy here. There you go. I'm going to just bring it in here.
Sure.
There we go.
It's available as a paperback, an ebook, and an audiobook.
Cool, cool. When was it released, Ron?
It's been a while now, 2016.
Cool. So there it is. Did I get it right, my friend?
Looks perfect.
Wonderful. So, Ron, as we round the corner here on the time, I'm going to have you share some more stories based on some more photos. But also, if we haven't touched on an area that you wanted to touch on, feel free to bring those in as well here. But I'm going to bring back some of the remaining photos here, my friend. And I'd love to have you speak about it. And let's just reminisce.
So this is definitely a trip down memory lane. This is my business partner and mentor and friend, Maria Rosellis, who passed away from cancer a few years ago. But she provided the story, an Ovation story. And, you know, I didn't get any ovations before I wrote the book. It was in putting all these lessons together and learning and growing did it start to happen for me. But Maria received an ovation early on in her career. When she was in her 20s, she was working for an insurance company, and she was a life insurance agent. And she had received the highest number of sales. She was the best insurance person, the best insurance agent in her first year. So in recognition of her achievements, she was invited to keynote a conference for 1,000 life insurance agents. And she had always been inspired by Zig Ziglar, motivational speaker Zig Ziglar. And so she wanted to leave the audience on an up note with an inspirational message and pay homage to Zig Ziglar. So one thing that Zig Ziglar used to say was he would start his days by clapping his hands and saying, "Today is going to be a great day." And so Maria wanted to leave her attendees with that message. So at the end of her talk, at the end of her keynote, she invited everyone to stand, clap, and then say, "Today is going to be a great day." And then she walked off the stage. Everyone's still standing. Everyone's still clapping. And the MC said, "That's how you get a standing ovation."
Cool.
So I put that in the book.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Maria, tell me her last name spelling so I can get it correctly for the screen here, my friend.
Sure. Let me see if I can type it in.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Maria she taught me everything I knew about corporate training, because she had been in corporate training for so long, and she was involved at a national level as she was involved in national training as a national director for a financial firm, and also in MBA executive programs. So she
one L
was a real mentor and friend.
Just one L, right?
I beg your pardon?
It's just one L there.
Just one L, yeah.
I got it correct, Ali. I had to, you're the first guest who actually used the host chat for that purpose during the show. So you are an innovator, my friend.
You're the innovator, dude. I'm just playing in your sandbox.
The only time that we use host chat was, before the show and after the show. And if there's some technical difficulty, we use the host chat. But you're the first one to actually communicate that kind of stuff. That's cool. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, my pleasure, dude. We're communicating in different ways. And I feel like when we're able to engage and interact in different ways, then it becomes more interesting. I don't know how interesting it would be for me to recite 6 or 7 letters in a row on air. So this is a different way of communicating. But one thing I also want to add is that, and you've got the right photo here, that Maria Rosellis created Share, Love, Celebrate. And this was a speaker series designed to fulfill a couple of different objectives. One is she was a TV host and a supportive person as well. And she wanted to spotlight some of her Toastmasters friends. So we're all Toastmasters here in this photograph. You see Ven, Vera, and you see, I don't know if you have John Ribeiro on your show yet, but you should. And Phil Taskey, Maria's in the middle there. And it was an opportunity for her to give us a stage. And her son and one of her friends were videographers. So it was an opportunity for them to develop their portfolios and for us to feature ourselves, to share some of our stories and our experiences and our expertise, maybe showcase some of our books, and then create some speaker videos, and to allow her son and her friend the opportunity to build their portfolio. And it was a great experience. And then Vera and I it's been an honor to continue Maria's legacy of Share, Love, Celebrate. And Ven came to me 2 years ago with the idea, after Maria's passing, to honor her legacy by continuing the speaker series. And we had a live event in 2019, bringing people together in the same venue to continue this experience, to share a dose of inspiration to people who need it, to remind people that it's important to share life and to love life and to love learning and to celebrate all of life, all the ups and the downs, all the triumphs and the tragedies, because you never know who else might be going through something. And by opening up, sharing our experiences, people might feel like they're not alone. I'm not alone in this. There are other people going through this. And I know that Ven has shared his experience and his lessons on your show as well. And we're of like minds. We're different personalities, but we're of like minds in honoring Maria's legacy and continuing to bring something special to the world, and making sure that people continue to share, love, and celebrate, because that's such a powerful message. And now, as an annual fundraiser, we've been raising money for important causes like Princess Margaret Cancer Center, the Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation. And then this year we also added a local cause, the Home Front, to support people who are affected by COVID-19. And it's a local homegrown grassroots organization.
Fantastic.
And this was virtual. We had to pivot in 2020 as event organizers. We went virtual.
Oh, I have to drink my orange juice now. You said pivot. I'm going to have to drink my orange juice now.
You and me both. I can't believe we've gone for almost 2 hours doing it, and this was the first time either of us has said pivot.
We were restraint. We had good restraint. But thank you for sharing that lovely story about, of course, Maria and the team that she had worked with you and Ven and others here. And let me maybe get to the next photo here. And there's Ven again here. Yeah.
That's right. This is a photo of me and Ven in the same venue, the Peter Gilgan Center for Learning in downtown Toronto. And this was in 2019. And another experience, this was Ven's idea. We're looking at causes to support, and we came across, what made sense was we came across the Ride to Conquer Cancer. And this is an annual charity event with all proceeds going to Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation. And I didn't even have a bike. I did not even have a bike. And this ride would take place in May or June, I think. I didn't get a bike until a month before the event. And for those of you who are not familiar, if you're not familiar with the Ride to Conquer Cancer, it takes place in multiple cities every year. And it's in Toronto. It's a 100-kilometer bike ride from Toronto to Niagara Falls. And for someone who hadn't ridden on a bike since grade school and who didn't even own a bike, it was daunting, to say the least. So I made sure to at least practice being on a cycle at the gym at Centennial College where I teach. So I'd make my own spin classes on the bike and just try to get used to being on a bike. But it's a very different experience being on a stationary bike compared to being on the road. But the experience of riding my bike, going from city to city, passing through Hamilton and Niagara, going through streets and highways, going through country roads and escarpments was a beautiful experience. And getting to share that with Ven as well, we had some great conversations, some deep and meaningful conversations, was really, really, again, meaningful to me. And doing this for charity as well, having people, knowing that there are thousands of people, tens of thousands of people engaged on their cycles and engaged on the bicycles, engaged as donors and engaged as supporters in the stands, was an incredible, incredible experience. And so it's something that I miss. We can't do this right now because of COVID. Another live event that has been postponed for the time being, but deeply fond memories. And again, real meaningful impact.
Yeah. Did you guys coin a phrase, something like the cycle of connection?
We did not, but now I like it. There's some nice alliteration there. I'll bring it up with Ben. Ben, if you're listening, you heard it here first. We got to give the copyright credit and kudos to Dune.
Ben I love that guy as well. He's a great guy.
I'm just going to pop off camera for a second here and show you this bike tag. It's Share, Love, Celebrate from the Ride to Conquer Cancer, Ron Tsang. So Ben and I were team Share, Love, Celebrate. And again,
cool.
We're continuing Maria's legacy. We're continuing the powerful and positive inspirational message to share, love, and celebrate. It turns out that Ven carried a card from Maria in his pocket the whole time, in his shirt. I don't know how he did it, but this entire trip for 100 kilometers, he carried this with him. And he unveiled that to me at the end when he said, Ron, we should record a video. At the end, I'm exhausted. I can barely stand. And I said, okay, let's do it. Pulled out my camera. And then he pulled out this card with Maria's photograph on it. He said that Maria was close to him the whole time. And it was so meaningful.
Wow. You know, where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's a thought, there, the actions will come. And he's a thoughtful guy for sure.
For sure. And it was definitely a learning journey with him this year as we made the experience virtual.
Mm-hmm.
But again, grateful for the opportunity to have some amazing, generous souls to speak and perform at the event. So it was definitely a silver lining there as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And here I am on what could be, some people don't like Microsoft Teams, but here I am speaking on Microsoft Teams. We all make the decision to learn how to adapt in a virtual world. And here I am delivering some corporate training on Microsoft Teams. And this is my setup. I've got a screen and I've got my laptop. And this is another communication program, not on speaking, but on writing. I mentioned earlier on that it can be so challenging for some employees who are used to walking over to their boss's desk or to go over to their coworker's cubicle to help them clarify a question. And they can't do that now. Now they have to be even more clear than ever with their writing by email or communicating on instant message in order to clarify their ideas or their issues. So issue resolution can be more challenging for people. And being able to do that with a multi-step process, a simple 3-step process, has been valuable for clients. And people are asking about that. It's helpful to them. So having some framework to help them communicate more effectively, be more clear, with the reminder that people are not mind readers, has been helpful. And it's a privilege for me to be able to adapt and adjust as well. And I think that it comes back to your lesson. Again, I'm going to repeat this again. It bears repeating, to not just focus on one skill or focus on one career, being able to draw on different skills, different interests, to be able to draw on your passions can help us continue to learn and help us continue to stay relevant and for us to help us continue to find joy in different times, in turbulent times or in changing times.
Yeah,
times always change.
Yeah,
right? That's a constant. It's always change.
Yeah, I say if you want to live a full life, bring your whole self everywhere you go. Bring your whole self everywhere you go. So if you are, you have this background and the other background and the other things and whatnot. And again, Steve Jobs talked about connecting the dots, and you mentioned that as well. And so the idea is just be aware of the possible value that an unrelated part of your background may very well be a key part or a key leg in the stool that you're trying to build, and not just kind of disregard it as something irrelevant from your past. It could very well be a key part of that stool that you're trying to build.
I so agree. I so agree, Dune. And it's funny because my friend Kevin in Montreal, my roommate from the University of Waterloo and one of my best friends, said that it's kind of like he saw this video game analogy because he knows, growing up, video games was a huge part of my life. And especially as someone who lived by themselves, I mean, lived with my parents, but was an only child and had solo hobbies. The same lessons from video games has applied to the things that I've been doing, especially in adapting to different career paths or adapting to the online world. And the lesson here is that we don't just give up. If we die, if we lose, we just keep trying again. And we keep trying different tactics. We try different strategies. And we make it work and we get through it because we've got certain goals we want to achieve or because we want to see what happens next. So it's that innate curiosity and passion to keep trying and persevere has been really valuable. And that mindset has been, I didn't realize at the time, but I agree with them. And actually that reminds me that one of the lessons that I share with students and clients is that success in life and success in communication, I feel can be summed up in 3 M's. You need these 3 M's to succeed. And I describe those 3 M's as mindset, motivation, and mechanics. If we don't have the right mindset, if we don't believe that it's possible, then it's going to be impossible. And if we don't have the motivation intrinsically, if we're not driven, then we won't get off the couch. We won't do anything. And if we lack the mechanics, the skills, then it's going to be hard. But what I always tell my students and my clients is that I can provide the mechanics. I can show you how, and I can provide feedback on your mechanics, but I can't help you. I can't motivate you. Perhaps I can inspire you with some opportunities, some examples of what's possible. But the motivation must come from within. It must be intrinsic motivation. And that mindset must come from a sense of abundance and possibility and maybe curiosity in order to learn and grow.
You can't achieve what you don't believe is possible.
You're a poet and you don't know it.
Now, did I get it right on screen there, my friend? Mindset, motivation, mechanics?
You got it. 3 M's.
3 M's. There you go. This is the other 3M,
Hopefully this is just as sticky.
There you go. You knew what I was talking about. See, we're on the same wavelength there, Ron. We're on the same wavelength there. Now, you have to tell the truth. Did this go by quickly, my friend? When I reach out to you and say, hey, we're going to chat for an hour and a bit until whenever you were kind of done, you say, well, an hour and a bit, that's a long time. Did this go by fast?
It went by like a flash with the Zoom. And I remember we had a Zoom conversation that went for quite some time too, didn't we, Dude?
Yeah. So there's a theme here. Yeah,
the after party at VCon, we were survivors. We were the last one standing. And I looked at my Zoom clock and it said I've been online for 7.5 hours. Of course, I was grading at the same time too.
And that was just the after-hour party. That was just the after-hour party, not the main conference that, And this was on the 3rd day of the convention. This was
That's right. It was really memorable for me. It was really special because you were there and Elizabeth George and Paul Fraser, a number of people who had educational backgrounds. So we could commiserate about and discuss best practices for
At some point we geeked out about academia a little bit and university life.
Yeah, exactly. So what's been fascinating from our conversation is just how much we have in common and sort of our spirit for learning as well. And I love that. Thanks for this opportunity.
I jokingly tell people when they ask me, what do you do for a living? And once in a while I joke and I say, I learn for a living. Because really, to me, if you are really good at learning quickly and effectively and learning in a flexible way, you can basically pick up a lot of different kind of work or different projects, different engagement, because learning is a key part of that journey, right?
That's so true, dude. I mean, I learned how to edit videos on my own. Well, I mean, just learning it from watching other people, getting some tutelage, and from YouTube, watching YouTube videos.
I heard the word tutelage.
Yeah, tutelage.
And
like having an apprenticeship, so to speak. But it's not like I went to school for filmmaking or video editing. And I learned how to put my book together and to self-publish. And again, I didn't sign up I'm not a book publisher. I didn't sign up for a book publishing school. But these are all skills that I picked up and that we can all pick up if we have the interest. And it really helps when there's other people who are further ahead that we can learn from, or people who are at or even behind us, so we can sort of share our learning lessons together. So I feel that community element makes a big difference. But it comes back to the mindset and the motivation too. We'll pick up the mechanics.
There you go. So here's another C. You must like C, my friend. You said
the clause connection. Santa Claus connection. So here I am at a holiday fair, a holiday market, a holiday Christmas market, and I thought it'd be fun to sell some of my books there. So I set up a booth there, and people weren't interested in buying my books. They're more interested in buying Christmas socks or other Christmas themed materials. But you never know unless you try. But this opportunity allowed me to connect with other alumni from my Rotman MBA program at the University of Toronto that I wouldn't have seen otherwise, or it's been a long time since I've reconnected with them. So you just never know what works and what doesn't, but you got to have fun, and you got to keep trying. And here Santa is just looking to see whether he's on my naughty or nice list.
Love it, love it, love it. Now, I think this might be one of the last photos here. Tell us about the story behind this.
So I don't know if you recognize the person sitting in the front seat, but
of course I do. But go ahead.
So some of you at home while listening to this or watching the video may not know who this is. This photo reminds me of an interesting story about a young boy growing up in the American Midwest with dark-colored hair, who would grow up painfully shy because he would hear these words each and every day. You're worthless. You're selfish. You should be ashamed of yourself. We know that words are powerful. Now imagine these words coming from your own mother. This is what his mother would say growing up. So it would not surprise you to learn that this boy would grow up to be painfully shy, afraid to stand up, afraid to speak up, and that public speaking would make him want to throw up. But this boy knew that if he wanted to do more, he had to be more. So he signed up for classes on public speaking, and each week he would practice, and practice. And eventually he would get better. And eventually he would go on to become very successful in his career. And one of these people is in the photograph there. The person in the driver's seat, Warren Buffett, was that boy who was not a great speaker, who was painfully shy, afraid to speak up, afraid to stand up and talk. And in 2007, I had the opportunity to meet Warren Buffett as part of an MBA class trip to Omaha, Nebraska. And when given the opportunity, we got to ask him questions. And my favorite question from the day was, Mr. Buffett, what was your best investment? So having just heard the story, I think you have an idea what he might say. And he said, my best investment was investing in myself, especially investing in my communication skills. And so I've always taken that lesson to heart, because Warren Buffett has university degrees. He's got prestigious Ivy League. He received a prestigious Ivy League education. He went to Stanford, he went to Columbia, but he doesn't hang up those degrees on his wall. The only piece of paper on his wall is from his course on public speaking. So I'm always reminded that if Warren Buffett's best investment was in himself, what's our best investment? What are we doing to continually learn and to continue to develop, especially when it comes to our communication skills? And here I am in his car getting a box of Warren Buffett books autographed. I jumped in front of his car as he was leaving because I wanted to make sure that he could sign them all. And these books were all for the students who participated in the trip. And it was a real privilege just to be in his car. He drives his own car. Ladies and gentlemen, he lives in the same house he's been living in since the 50s, and he drives his own car. It's an important reminder to invest in yourself.
Thank you so much for that. I'm just blown away by the story there. And of course, many of us know Warren Buffett, Mr. Warren Buffett, as probably the wealthiest person in the world, if not, I mean, he is just living a life that is very, in many ways, surprising, as you mentioned, right? The way he approaches the business sometimes is very surprising. The way he approaches his own, again, you mentioned living in the same house as he did back in the 50s. That's like, 50, 60, well, actually, that would be almost 70 years ago. But the bottom line is very different from many other successful, wildly successful entrepreneurs and business people. But thank you for sharing the message and the story there, and much appreciated, Ron.
It's a privilege, dude.
Mm-hmm. So Ron, as we wrap this up, I would love to have you kind of take us out here, take us home with however you like. If you want to recite a poem, go ahead. If you want to sing a song, go ahead. If you want to summarize or conclude, feel free to do that. But before we go there, I just wanted to, first of all, thanks our viewers for tuning in here and either in the live event here or in the recorded video. But if you have questions for Ron, feel free to put it in the comment section there and make sure that Ron respond to it as soon as he can. And so as we round the corner on wrapping this up, I want to again thank you, Ron, for your contribution into this conversation here. It's been a very interesting and insightful conversation for me, and we certainly have fun doing it here. And so thank you for spending the time, and thank you for sharing of your journey and your stories and insights, Ron. So Ron, when we're done, hang around in the green room for another minute after that. But other than that, my friend, take us out in whatever way you like. It's all yours, my friend.
Well, Dune, thanks so much for having me. And all I'll say in conclusion is that we don't need to be Warren Buffett to live a magnificent life, an inspired life. And if we continue to invest in ourselves, and if we focus on not just where we came from or where we are now, but where we want to go, I feel like there's an opportunity for all of us to live that life that we want to live. And if we continue to focus on our mindset and our motivation, we'll pick up the mechanics. That's really, really important. And communication is so important because you just never know who needs to hear what you have to say. You never know how far your message will go. Your voice matters. So, Dune, thank you so much for having me. It's been a real privilege, a real pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. And I hope your friends and my friends got something out of it too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ron. And again, folks, you've been listening to Mr. Ron Tsang. And with that, have a wonderful day. Take good care of yourself. Take good care of one another. And have a wonderful rest of your day, folks.